Hi, I want to go over the Chapter 5 homework, okay? And so we can see here we've got 7 questions. 5 and 6 is a two-part problem, although some of them do have 2 requirements to the part, okay? But these 2 are related, okay? The first couple are really short. This is just kind of getting you used to the account names. So here you're just going to say whether it goes on the income statement, statement of return, statement of retained earnings, or balance sheet, so you can go through and choose them. Get to check your work. You should have no problem with those. But don't just use check my work and guess. Make sure you understand these as you go. Next one is going to be a similar type thing. This is really just a vocabulary one. Third one is another vocabulary one. Fourth one is just going over the rules of debit or credit, right? So consulting revenue, you choose asset, equity, expense, liability. That's a revenue. Normal balance, credit. And the increase is always the same as the normal balance. So the answers for these 2 columns is going to be the same. All right, so now we get to doing more of the problems. And so this one you're going to go through. Requirement 1 is going to have you record the journal entries, right? So you go through and you will choose the debit, put the amount in the debit column. You'll go through and choose the account that's being credited, put the amount in the credit column. And then you can record your entry and you'll go on to the next transaction. So these journal entries are discussed in the chapter. You can also, when you are in our course on the week 3 tab, you should have gone to the week 3 overview. First thing, that's your first stop every week. But then when you scroll down, right, it's my lecture videos. If you need help understanding the chapter when you're, as you're doing the reading. But then you can see here's a video where I go through recording journal entries. Okay, so if you're not familiar, and that's the thing in the beginning, the terminology is the hardest, is getting used to what the wording means. Okay, so the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with what the transactions actually mean. So it would be a good idea to watch this video. This is a short one. I'm only going through a few transactions. This is only a 4-minute video, right? But I think it's worth the time investment to check that out. Okay, so you're going to go through and you're going to record all of these transactions in the journal. And we know in the formal accounting process, the next step is to then post to the ledger. But instead, in this problem, they're not going to have you post to the ledger. They're going to have you post to a T account, right? So it looks a little strange on here. Here's the T. Here's the top of the T, and then here's the long part of the T, okay? And so we've got these 4 boxes. 2 of them are on the debit side of the T, 2 of them are on the credit side of the T. And it's just so you can choose the letter for the transaction, and then you can put in the amount. Okay. If it was a credit in the journal entry, so let's go back to this first one. We're debiting cash $10,500, crediting common stock $10,500. So there's the debit, right? I said these first 2 boxes are the debit side. We go to common stock. Here's the debit side. Here's the credit side. So here we have to choose the letter and then put in the 10,500. Okay. You'll do that for all of the transactions. So what I would recommend is doing all of the journal entries. I would use my first check at that point. Make sure you've got all of your journal entries correct, because you hate to be posting incorrect journal entries. If you click here, you'll be able to see the whole, that's the transaction list. Here's the view the general journal. I've only got one thing in here, but after you have them all done, what I did was I used the snipping tool. So snip it and then get the whole general journal. So then when I go to the next page to do the posting, I don't have to keep you know, jumping back and forth. I could just pull up my picture here. Maybe you just want to take a picture of it. I think that would be easiest, right? And then you can just post to the T accounts that way. It's really nice that Connect finds your balances for you, okay? Because then the next problem, so make sure that you're putting in the letter of the transaction and the amount, the debit and the credit for every single one, right? That's why you might be told you're incomplete if you forget to put the letter. And then chapter 6 is doing the trial balance. So again, what I did was, either maybe you want to take a picture. I like using the snipping tool and take a snip to get a picture right there of all the accounts and their balances. Now, obviously, I didn't finish posting, so that's all that's in there. And then when you go here to do the trial balance, okay, then you just pull up your snip or your picture instead of having to scroll back and forth. Just a thought, do whatever you're comfortable with. But obviously, we're going to list all of the account balance, all the account names, the assets first, drop in the balances after you've completed it. Oops. Okay. And the totals need to equal. If they don't equal, then either you entered something incorrectly. If you double check and you see you've entered something and you've entered everything correct, then you got to go back and see if you did something wrong with the posting. However, if you've done your check my work and you had it all right on the previous one, then you know your posting's all correct. Okay. And so that's 6. And then 7, this is the long one. This is, you're going to do all 3 in this problem. So you're going to go through and you're going to do the journal entries in requirement 1. So I just did the first one. Record the entry, then you'll go through, you'll do all of them. This one, we've got 12 that we do. Okay. And then you're going to go to requirement 2. But instead of posting to T accounts, now you're going to do the general ledger. You're going to post to the general ledger. So this is the formal accounting process. And so I do have a video here where I demonstrate posting to the ledger. So that might be worth checking out on the week overview page. Okay. But again, I would do a snip of the whole thing, right? Because if you do a snip or take a picture so you don't have to keep scrolling back and forth, that is very annoying, right? I've only got one done. I didn't do the whole problem. Obviously, you'll have the whole journal, right? And so the first one, we've got April 1st, a debit to cash of $45,000, right? April 1st. Oh, I already forgot the amount already. $145,000. Okay, and then it's so nice, Connect does the balance for you, right? You would then be putting in the post reference, but they're not having you do that. Then debit office equipment for $34,800. Where's our office equipment? There it is. $4,800. That was on the first. And then we're going to be, the credit is to common stock. I cut it off, $179,800. Right, and that was the first. Connect as the balance. So you'll have to go through and post all of it. So you can see there'll be a lot of back and forth. That's why I like using the snipping tool, so I don't have to keep on going back and forth to 6. So, right, so maybe a picture somehow, you can do that. And then the last thing is going to be requirement 3. That's going to be a trial balance, right? So you're going to go through and you're going to put the accounts, right? So again, a picture, a snipping tool. When you're all done, obviously it'll be the last balance in cash, the last balance in accounts receivable, right? And so when it's all done, the debits should equal the credits, okay? So the first few are pretty quick, and then the bulk of your work is going to be on these last 2 problems. Are going to take you a little bit of time, but I can't stress enough the need to go through and invest some time, okay? watching these videos, right? Like I said, the first one's 4 minutes. So you get the hang of what we're trying to do. By recording in the journal, we're showing what happened in the transaction, what went up, what went down. And then the posting is where we transfer the debits and credits, and then you find the balances. The trial balance is where we make sure debits equal credits in the ledger. So I hope this helps.